So you want to know what copywriting is? That is a good question. And quite frankly, you're in the right place because when I first thought of copywriting, I thought it was some legal binding stuff. When truth is, it is not that entirely. In fact, we're going to go through exactly what copywriting is. So if you have just recently heard of the phrase, or maybe you're slightly interested as to what it is and what it involves, and whether or not this could actually be a career for you, then you're going to want to watch to the end of this video. Now, I'm not going to do any clever editing or all that kind of good stuff. We have some solid slides here that I'm going to dive into. But before I dive in, my name is Matt. I have been a copywriter now for the last 6 years, solely working as freelance. And, let's be honest, it's up and down sometimes, but I've been in the game for that long, which gives me, the authority to kind of talk on this stuff. So let's dive in. What is copywriting? A no fluff crash course on the words that get people to take action. That all it is at the end of the day, because the right words can turn attention to trust and trust into clients. And that is it. That is, in essence, what copywriting is. Let me just get the old slides. So look, copywriting sounds a little bit fancy, but really is just simple. You are writing words that sell a particular product for a brand, company that you are working for, so they can obviously maximize leads, they can maximize their sales, and happy days, you both win. But you can also use copywriting in your own business in the sense that you don't even need to be a copywriter. You could simply be a coach. You can have an interest in a business yourself, but the idea and the skill of copywriting will help you when it comes to, letting your words convert, making people buy into you, seeing you as an authority, being more credible, all the good stuff that copywriting allows you to do. So in other words, copywriting is sales in words, right? So get someone to click and reply and subscribe, book or buy, depending on a sales page. Could be an email, could be social media, could be an Instagram story, doesn't particularly matter, but it helps. It's not about sounding clever because lots of jargon, you can overcomplicate things and it just gets overly confusing. That's not it. Everything has to be simple, almost at a grade 4 reading level. So happy days, you can consume it and so can the person reading it as well. And they don't have to what on earth are you talking about? It's none of that complexity stuff. The goal is simple, to make this next step obvious, and that is it. So what is the next step they need to take in order to improve their lives, make more money, change current belief, change in action, whatever it might be? That is the simple goal. Getting a hang of these little slides going on here. So look, copy is literally everywhere. If you've ever bought something, then the chances are you've been pulled in by some sort of copy marketing in that respect. You really have. And that is because it is everywhere. It is the means that someone can sell you something and change an idea, change a belief, make you feel in a certain way. So just some examples of where you might have seen this. You could have seen on website headlines, email subject lines, paid ads, YouTube titles and scripts, sales pages, and social captions. Right? Pretty much whenever someone's trying to make you feel a particular way, like an emotion. If you've ever bought something, or you're compelled to buy something, you find something interesting, or it's just, you've read an ad and you're like, holy moly, it's in your head now, and you're intrigued now to buy it or to just at least investigate. Then you have been swayed by the written word, and that is what copy is. And if you can do that well, then happy days, businesses are going to look to employ you, look to hire as a freelancer, contractor, and even help your own business as well. So it's a chef's kiss, so to speak. Now, good copy starts with people, right? So before you start writing anything, you need to know the person on the other side of the screen. So it helps to understand who it is you are speaking to. Now, if you're working with clients, you're going to get a good idea as to, well, at least I hope so, you're going to do a deep research into the market. So who are their customers? Who are you speaking to? You're not going to end up, say, like if you're in a fat loss niche and just start talking about muscle gain. It's the wrong market. People are going to switch off. They're not going to tune to want to buy. There's no incentive there because it's a completely different market. So you have to understand who it is that you are selling to. And if it's your own business, and getting clear on the person that you want to work with, like the avatar, and happy days, that's only going to help you massively as well when it comes to your messaging, especially nowadays where everyone's spitting out the same kind of generic copy because of AI makes things a little bit easier. It doesn't help when it comes to building the brand and making money. So just bear that in mind. So you have to understand the wants. What are they trying to get? So what is the outcome they're trying to achieve here? If it's fat loss, maybe it's losing 10 to 20 pounds. If it's finances, is it being able to save a certain amount of money so they can retire at a certain age? Is it something to do with wellness so they can improve their life expectancy or whatever? You have to understand what they want in terms of the outcome, because then you can talk about it. You can go layers deeper as well and investigate the outcome even more. So pain is a big one. All right. So what makes people tick is the fear of losing stuff, and it's also the pain of having a problem that's just left undealt. All right. It's like if say fat loss is difficult for most people, that's not really a pain point. But if you go and say more of the lines of, fat loss can be a miserable process, especially when you've tried so many different things and you failed at multiple different diets, that you yourself start to think yourself that you're a failure, that something wrong with you. They're pain points. All right. Pain points could also be not being able to save for retirement. It could be the fear of being looked down on. It could be the fear of being judged compared to people who are more well off and all these kind of things. So tapping into the pain point really helps make your message stand out even more. And if you can do that and you understand, I'm not saying absolutely destroy a person. Don't. You have to be empathetic, all right? But you have to also be aware of the pain and the problem they're facing in order to move the needle and offer the solution, so that is next step. All right. And the language, how they describe the problem. So I do a lot of feedback with coaches and stuff, and they use technical terms in their niche, which sound great. I understand what they are. They understand what they are, but the market has no clue. It's like, well, they're using technical terms that you use when you're like a few rungs ahead of the person. All right. So it's understanding how they use it. How do they speak? And the best way you can look for this is either go through past clients' emails if you have them. It's to go through conversations. It's to go through application forms. It's also to dive into on forums as well, like Reddit and Quora. Massively help, because you can see how the market are actually speaking, which can help so much when it comes to creating something and getting it out there that actually speaks in the way that you market, or their market, the business's market you're working for, actually speak. All right. Simply guessing, isn't it? You'll miss the mark completely. And what result would feel like a win to them? All right, so this goes back to what they want, but what is the main outcome? What's the driver? What's the why? What do they really, really want, aspire to? Shift in identity, shift in belief, X amount of money being made, X amount of weight being lost, how someone perceives them, how someone's views them. What is the end outcome? If you understand this, everything becomes easier. And then generally the four coin components, all right? What do they want? Their pain points, the language they use, and the outcome. Get them right. Happy days. You're awesome. Now, features tell, benefits sell. You've likely heard this before, but it's true. Features are very surface level. They don't go very deep. They give you a kind of aspect to something, but they don't give you the whole shebang, the whole shaboozle, the benefit of why this is important. All right. So to give you an example, what is it? So weekly coaching calls. Example, a 30-day content calendar. Okay. But what's the benefit there? Well, all you do is you add it why it matters. Now, you can either add so you can, which is a very simple switch, so weekly coaching calls so you can, or a 30-day content calendar so you can. It generally helps just add a little bit more layer, especially if you're getting in practice. It just makes you think a little bit more and gets that brain in creative mode. But another way you can do it, weekly coaching calls that help you stop guessing what to do next. That's okay, but you can go even deeper. Weekly coaching calls to make sure that you're constantly moving forwards and overcoming any kind of challenge or obstacle that you faced in the week, so you don't worry about quitting. It's another layer deeper. All right? A 30-day content calendar, so you never have to stare at a blank screen ever again, and actually post content that converts and gets DMs or gets sales. Again, that is another way of how you can really get a benefit from there. So when you use features and benefits, you're generally going to be using these when you're describing a product, or you're telling someone about an offer and what's included. Go to town on this. Make it really beneficial. You want to make the person read this and go, holy hell, I need this. This sounds great. This solves the problem. This is what I want. This is the outcome I need. Yep. Thank you very much. Let's just find out more about this product. And that is what the difference is between features and benefits. So So yeah. Cool. So copy needs one clear goal. Now, like I said, I generally give feedback on a lot of different marketing materials and like emails and social media posts. And one thing that definitely stands out a lot is the zig and zagging, jumping through hoops and just going around in circles when it comes to a message. All right, it's gets confusing. And the moment you confuse a reader, they're going to switch off. They're going to go somewhere else. They click away, and then you lose a customer or you lose a lead. Not good. You don't want to make people guess. So one clear goal. Okay. If people are confused, they usually do nothing. So your copy needs to be in one point in one direction, like I just said. Not read, follow, book, buy, download, DM, blah, 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 blah. Too many call to actions in one, right? It's just one coherent call to action. Drop me a DM or click the link in my bio or um, click the link here to book a call, or, learn more, buy now, just one thing, depending on the medium that you're using. Yes, one message, one action, one obvious next step, nice and simple, and the result, less friction, a much easier decision. The moment you make things difficult is the moment people switch off, and that is not what you want, amigo. You need to keep it simple, the message coherent, and happy days, you're good to go. Now, there are a few different ways in which you can frame copy, especially at the beginning, but they most run off like a very good framework, and then you can pretty much riff off of this. So one example is AIDA. All right, AIDA is attention, interest, desire, action. All right, so you can grab someone's attention immediately. That could be the subject line. It could be the hook on a social media post. It could be a hook in the reel. Whatever it is, it's going to grab attention, and people are going to like, okay, I need to pay attention because this is going to be interesting. It's directed towards me, and that's a good thing. Look at me lose my voice. So attention, start with a hook, a problem they care about. It has to be compelling enough that they need to stop the scroll through loads of cat videos and things like that. And again, this will be a lot easier when you understand the market and you do the research. Because once you've done that, you'll be able to come up with loads of different ideas. Especially with AI, you can literally just type in the target market, ask it to come up with like 10 to 15 different hooks, and boom, happy days. You can obviously do your due diligence, but it's there and it makes things a hell of a lot easier. Interest, show it matters and why they should keep reading. So why is it that they should value the next line? Like you've had the hook, it could be something like, you're losing 2 hours of sleep every single night. Okay, the interest could be is studies have shown that just the sleeping in the wrong position can make you lose hours every night, which then makes you feel tired, lethargic, and waking up feeling more like a zombie, even if you feel like you've slept for 8 hours solid, right? And then the desire and the outcome could be, you know, that's why we created, this sleep mattress that detects like different heat in the body and like cooling systems and stuff. That's very off the dome. It's not the best, obviously, and obviously you can broaden this out as long as you like. It's just an idea, and the action is if you'd like to find out more, if you'd like to purchase one for yourself, or if you'd like to have better sleep and wake up feeling refreshed, click the link below. All right, that's just like a nice benefit-driven call to action as well. There are loads of different ways in which you can do frameworks. PSA, which is a problem PSA, problem solution action. So you could leave the problem, get the solution, whatever the next action is. There's loads of different ways in which you can do this. But AIDA is generally one of the most commonly used. There you go. PAS, so makes problems clear. So what is the problem you're dealing with? Really make it vivid. Agitate that problem. So why is the current problem? So what makes the current problem a hindrance to their life? All right. So yes, they might have the problem of they might be overweight. I use this a lot because I used to be a coach. They might be overweight, right? But what's the agitation of staying stuck? Well, it could be reduction in life quality. It could be not being a role model they want for the kids. It could be how their partner sees them differently. They're not as attractive as they once used to feel. They might feel left behind, not living up to their potential. There's loads of different reasons as to how you can agitate the problem, right? And then solution is the next step. All right. And you can paint the solution however you like. So many different ways. All right. You can say, you can be like a client-led solution, right? Dave had the same issue about struggling with 20 pounds and he was overweight. His kids were seeing him a little bit differently. He wasn't the role model he used to be, and he would often sit at the sidelines feeling out of breath because he couldn't after just 5 minutes of kicking the ball around with his kids. That and then he saw me talking about maybe like being a better role model. and he took action on that, and as a result, boom, there's a solution and the result. It's just pairing it differently. There's so many different ways in which you can do it, but obviously that makes for a longer video entirely. Just want to keep this nice and basic, nice and simple. And the headline, do the heavy lifting. So again, this headline, think of a headline as a hook. All right. So a headline could be literally the hook of a script, the hook of a caption. But majority speaking, it's generally the lead magnet and sales page that is going to have some sort of headline. That's going to reduce the time delay. That's going to increase the likelihood of success. That's going to have a really good desired outcome, and that was removal of some sort of pain point as well, or injection, just to make everything easier. That's why some Alex Mosley was saying, like, that's how, say, like liposuction is more appealing than, you know, a 90-day fat loss program, because it's immediate, it's virtually guaranteed, but yes, it's cost. That's why it costs more. Whereas the other one is a bit more suffering. It takes longer. You have to be more disciplined, ups and downs of motivation in that respect. So the headline needs to have all of that good stuff in it. So market tips for beginners: too broad, no clear promise, easy to scroll past, how to get your first clients without ads. Boom. That's a lot stronger, right? I see a lot of websites do that, very generic, very basic. But if you can go to town and be more specific, and remember, turn the feature into benefit and speak on specifics, you're going to be off to the races, my friend. So yeah, clever beats clever. So clear beats clever, specific beats vague, and outcome beats ego. So research makes copy more human. This has to be key, right? Research is everything. If you do not research your market, you're already losing, because you're simply guessing what the market wants, which isn't a good idea. You need to understand, practically live in their heads. What are they thinking? What are their beliefs? What are their values? What are their fears? What are their desires? What do they wish they could do? What makes them skeptical? What objections do they have? There's so many different things as to why someone would want to buy or why they wouldn't want to buy. You need to know this inside and out, okay? Because then it makes things a lot easier. It allows you to connect and be more relatable and show the brand in a better light, as opposed to just guessing and being generic and vanilla and bored and bland. Sorry. So yeah, review repeated frustrations, comments below. All of this stuff here, forums, emotional language, DMs and phrases, are all good stuff. So you can see all of this stuff basically in forums. You can see this stuff in client case studies. You can see this in application forms, sales calls. There's so much, right? And that is literally everything, guys. So it's not about tricking people. Okay, copywriting isn't, you're not making claims. And if you are and you can't back those claims up, then you're a little bit of a moron. And that's not good. Your morals are out the window. That is, no. Copywriting is powerful because you can persuade people with words. It's like when you tell stories, you can really find yourself into a good story, right? You can lose yourself. And if you, like I said, if you bought something that sounds good, you go and want to make a purchase, right? But there is a fair line. Don't make something sound so good and then the outcome or the service, the offer, the product isn't, because people will refund, you'll get complaints, and if it's your own business, it's not going to look good on you, and you'll get rubbish reviews, and people just won't trust you anymore. Not a good burn and churn kind of business. All right, so understand what makes you understand your audience fears and frustrations. Explain how the value in normal personal language. Just keep it simple. Grade 4 and 5. And help them to get the next useful step. That is it. All right, guys, that's the first video. I'll be uploading more on this. So if you have any questions, comment below. I'd be more than happy to help. This is all about marketing and copywriting the channel. So building an online business from scratch and all beginner friendly. Take care and happy days.